Hello!
Welcome back for another little story time.
I love when we read Tanner's Mormon Mission Journal. I think it's so fun hearing from baby Colt Tanner. So I've convinced him to read more today.
This is a suit I wore as a Mormon missionary in a different dimension.
That's a joke.
For those of you who may be new to joking, okay, let's just jump right in.
For those of you who are not really familiar with sort of missions or Tanner's mission experience, I'll link some of our relevant videos in the description box. We've done a few on it. So
here's one. President wants us to baptize. Baptize, baptize, baptize. When I arrived in the mission, I had a fear of baptism because I was used to the work in the States. And then I saw people trying to fulfill this charge to baptize in ways they shouldn't. The problem is not baptizing, it's the missionaries. It's the way the work. When I hear presidents speak, I want to baptize, not because I want everyone to know that I'm a baptizador, but because I know that these people need baptism in order to enter the kingdom of God.
What's baptizador?
Like a baptizer. Like
Okay.
It's like a title of like everyone.
Okay.
A baptizer meant you baptize a lot.
Mm-hmm.
President is asking for more and more baptisms. And at the same time, he is asking for us to baptize people more and more converted. The combination seems impossible. And certainly it is without God on our side.
Banksy has pizza sauce on his nose. I just thought you should know.
How'd you get that?
Okay, so at this point in your mission, you're feeling like, okay, missionaries are doing, like, kind of getting people to get baptized too soon or maybe going about it in kind of unethical ways. So you're feeling that conflict between that and then your mission president is like, you need to be getting a lot of baptisms.
Yeah.
So presumably a lot of people are responding to that, like, you need to get a lot of baptisms by those ways because that's what they feel pressured to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in this entry, you're wrestling with sort of the ethics of it, like what's truly, from God.
Yeah.
More proof that Tanner was a lovely boy while Mormon.
Well, this is...
/ a really good Mormon missionary.
I think, I had such an expectation. I literally grew up... I learned how to reading the Book of Mormon. Mm-hmm. My favorite story was... I could tell you, the name of the water where Ammon fed the Lamoni sheep. Mm-hmm. As a 2-year-old, I was like, the waters of Sebus! And all my life was going on the mission is the only thing, tunnel vision to going on a mission. And then...
Which is... that's how the church teaches you to be. That's what a good Mormon boy is your life begins when you go on your mission and then you get married. And that's basically the chain of events,
Endure to the end.
Yeah, and then endure to the end and have 90 children.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be this, super duper uber spiritual experience where we're going to be, doing miracles and teaching people. Because you would think
everyone would be in that mindset because you're we're here for 2 years.
Yeah.
We're messengers of Christ. So you probably... It's kind of like when I went to BYU Idaho, you just expect everyone to be, so holy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it was such a disappointment that not only they weren't, but, the system that we were part of wasn't really, because it was all very, I was like, this feels like sales. It feels like
it was almost you had to try to be ethical. It wasn't set up for ethics. It was you had to kind of go against the grain a little bit to make it feel more ethical.
The vibe was very much crank out numbers, because the better a mission does, the more likely a mission president is going to be called to be a 70.
How have I never thought about this before? That's why.
And that's literally what happens.
That's why. I'm such an idiot. I cannot believe I haven't thought about this before. I don't know. I never really thought too much about missionary presence. Well, I imagine there was some pressure to, get an amount of numbers. But yeah, if you stand out, if your mission stands out, then you're more likely to get called as a 70.
Yep.
AKA a higher up in the Mormon hierarchy. 70 is getting pretty close to the top.
There are some just insane stories about current and former members of the 70 who at once were mission presidents of my mission.
Yeah.
Just some rounding up kids by the truckload and dumping them into a pool and being like, you're baptized now. Not that extreme, but essentially.
It's so grim.
So yeah, just that was very much a thing that I was grappling with and that I struggled with.
How far into your mission is this?
This is very quick. This is my first. I had 2 mission presidents. This is the first. I mentioned in another journal entry that my first interview with him was literally less than a minute long, and every
that must feel heartbreaking. I can imagine that being so hard.
You just
so you're
I
this is the
craving
person
validation and parental warmth,
and you can just tell you're just a cog in the machine to them.
Yeah, well, the thing is he knew my dad was a bishop, and seriously, it was very, very in the United States, the culture is to pretend you don't care about callings. there they like barely don't pretend.
Was he Brazilian?
Yeah.
Your first Miss
And I don't
President?
want to like cast a wide net and be like,
No.
but like
It's just,
it was more of a vibe where it was like, if you have a high position, you are a spiritual person, so you want to seek out a high position
I
so
prefer
that you can be a
that
spiritual
to
person.
like the pretending
more
that you're.
straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least be honest about it. Be self-aware. You know what I mean? It's not any better in America where they pretend not to.
Right.
Because it almost is like makes the problem bigger. You know. Anyway. Because it's all just like this virtue signaling and blah, blah, blah.
It's funny how Americans oftentimes will like think that about Latin cultures, that they're a bit more rude, or even European culture, that everyone's a bit more rude. And it's like, no, they're just like straightforward and not
aggressive.
like, yeah, exactly.
And like less, I don't know. There's people's impressions growing up of Americans was "Have a nice day." Like that was like the stereotype of an American person.
Not wrong. Hope y'all are having a nice day.
Hope you are. Okay, keep going.
He says every week not baptizing is a week wasted. So that's the other thing too. It's like I really went in with a pure heart and also a really anxious heart that was like getting an out in my scrupulosity, because I was also like super high strung. Probably had like a also fairly normal level of human anxiety, but like way amplified in a distressing situation.
In systems that like demand that you repress it, which makes it bigger. So maybe it was a normal amount of anxiety, but you're probably getting to pretty clinical levels with like all the stuff. You're almost doing the opposite of like all the things that would help it. You're doing the exact opposite. You're doing everything you can to repress it, essentially on purpose, you know?
Yeah. And because everything feels like a huge moral issue. So even if you're like trying your absolute hardest and working every second and you find yourself being tired, you're like, whoa, woe is me. Oh, the fallen, weak flesh man that I am. Like, it's such a trip. Last transfer, I had to use my own money to pay for the bus ticket. I don't want that to happen again. Plus, I need to buy another backpack and possibly shoes. I'm been super careful with my money. As a result, I'm hungry.
So on Mormon missions, you get an allowance, right?
Mm-hmm. Which you have spent a lifetime paying into.
Yeah, but what's the allowance you were getting? Like, I think it was like $200 or something. No,
some
maybe less than that. Anyway, you get some amount of money and you have to like pay for everything on that.
But then they tell you you're not supposed to use mission money for a bunch of like personal items like those things. You're supposed to use your own money.
Oh, okay.
But that I came to find out that nobody was really living by that, and thank God, because the church has plenty of money.
What do you mean, thank God, because the church has plenty?
I mean, like, there was a time where I was walking on shoes where the sole was literally, like, split in half, and I was getting bloody feet.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, how would them buying stuff with their own money help?
Well, by not buying, I was like, I have to use my own money, but I don't have money, so I'm going to keep walking on broken shoes. It's your own money
either way. The church is just, like, distributing the mission allowance to you.
Yeah, but that's not how I was conditioned to see it.
Okay.
And everyone else was, like, didn't have any money, so they just... Are you supposed
to try and have money left over, then, to give back to them? Like, how did
my
they benefit?
Brother did. My brother had he just, like, hoarded it and was terrified and had a big wad of cash, and in the end, he just handed it back to him.
The meals he must have missed.
Yeah.
So you were hungry on your mission because the allowance was too meager?
Yeah. Well, and just sometimes, like, things happen, like, you gotta catch a bus, and then you end up you miss a bus because you're at an appointment, you gotta get a different bus, and it's a more expensive bus, and you have some kind of emergency, I don't know, like...
It seems like mission presidents and potentially parents, depending on the parents, but, like, they see missions as this, like, tough testing ground for you, so it doesn't seem like anyone really cares.
No.
It's hard because that's what also it's just like intergenerational trauma. Your dad probably suffered enormously on his mission.
Worse.
Worse and worse the further you go back. So it's like, but it is
well,
weird.
I don't know. There was a time when it was like a little bit more chill. Like my grandpa would like go to movies strict, and stuff.
That's true. So wild that because you were still a child, like you're 19, that the adults that you were in the care of weren't, I don't know. I just find it's all just very similar.
And it's all so moralized. Well, if you were being obedient, you would have saved enough money and you would be fine. Like I have another thing where I like said that to somebody else.
That's a big thing that can't be overstated about mission culture, is the idea that like any way that you're suffering or have a problem, it's because you're not righteous enough. Because there's a magical mindset generally in Mormonism, but the magical thinking on missions is like to the next level. that has to play into so much bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Whew, okay, so your shoes have holes in them and you're hungry. Wonderful image.
I think maybe I've been pushing myself a little too hard, running faster than I have strength. I've been getting headaches every day.
Oh my God.
I'm feeling pretty down right now, but I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's just because I'm so tired. It's been a while since I had a really down day, so I guess I can afford one. I know it will pass. Today in district meeting,
Okay, a few things to unpack. I mean, first of all, you're like, I don't know why, maybe it's because I'm tired. I mean, yes, it has to at least be in part be because you're tired, but also I feel like any reasoning beyond that, you like maybe wouldn't want to, you don't want to confront that like this is a toxic environment or like
that I really
I'm unfulfilled doing this or...
Being cut off from family. I know that the rules have changed now for good. Now they have more communication with family, but like being cut off and like feeling like I can't talk to anybody I know was very, very distressing. Because
even though you were like the most Mormon person ever, like you still have like entire facets of your personality outside of Mormonism. Like you've always been like very creative, very social. And I feel like you don't even have your own name on the mission, you're like elder, that's part of it. They give you names. I just feel like it's like you're taking like maybe like 30% of what you are and just being that for 2 years. But then there's this whole other side, part of you that is just left dormant, including your like connections to friends and family members. And then when you go see your mission president, who's supposed to be like the stand-in for that, which you need, because even though you're a 19-year-old boy and you're technically an adult, the average 19-year-old boy in the world isn't cut off from all his family. So, like, they do need to be providing some kind of, like, parental nurturing, ideally, for you to be, like, a healthy, happy human being. And then you go in for an interview and just get, like, a 1-minute, like, super clinical set of questions, I assume.
And we lived in terror of him. Like, I like him as a person. I learned to like him and be, like, a little more chill. But we were, like, terrified of him.
That's so sad.
And I remember thinking, like, I respect him more than I love him. And it's like, whoa. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that my first, like, grappling with the culture of the mission and being like, oh, I'm part of, like, a sales program. And maybe this is, like, my test to see if I can be good and faithful and righteous through it. But, like, I literally... I don't know if I like actually arrived at praying, but I definitely had the secret wish in my heart of hearts that I would just get hit by a bus, not to the point of killing me, but then I could just go home honorably and it wouldn't have been by choice or a moral failing. 'Cause man, it was really, really hard. They definitely, and it's funny 'cause like, if a cult expert is like, one of the main things cults do is isolate you from your friends and family, give you a different name, and totally govern everything that you do, your day-to-day life. And every cult is like, no, yeah, it's totally wrong when other cults do that, but when we do it, it's the good way. We're doing it right. We do it because we enter in onto our own volition, and it's like, yeah, you do, but only because there's this whole like cultural tidal wave pushing you in that direction.
You sing "I Hope They Call Me on a Mission" when you're 3 years old.
Yeah,
it really like speaks to the agility of cult beliefs. So like you'd set the mission up in your mind as this one thing your whole life, and that really drove you, and I assume is also a big part of kind of like your relationship with Mormonism. And then you're on it and it's not that thing at all, and it's like the missionary program is such a big part of the church, it's such a big... People's mission stories, I feel like, are a big part of, like, faith getting affirmed, blah, blah, blah. It's a big deal. And then you get on the mission.
On the public face of Mormonism, like, you think of, like, the white shirt tie.
That's what you think of when you think of Mormon. So it's like, you get there, you realize it's not that, and then you're like, well, it's a test. It's bad here because it's a test, and that's just classic cult stuff when the thing doesn't happen that you've been told will happen for ages.
I must be the problem.
It's a test, or it's...
And they're open about that, like, oh yeah, the mission is supposed to break you down and build you back up to be a servant in the Lord's kingdom.
That's how brainwashing and cult stuff works.
That's how it works. That's how they do it in every single group that does it.
Water torture, all of it. It all does that. It breaks you down. Re-education camps, God, I mean, it's all like that same kind of idea.
Same mechanism.
Wait, let's talk about the headaches. So, because I know you were in Brazil, do you think any part of it could have been like the change in temperature or...
I think the duress of all of it, of like being on the equator, walking all hours of the day, from early hours to night.
It's like physically,
trying to learn a new
emotionally-
language, being totally emotionally isolated. Like, the only person that I could have a conversation with was the other American elder who was living with us. And he told me, straight face, like, he goes, this is my first area. He was like, the mission is the biggest lie in the church.
Haunting!
He was miserable. And I was like...
What did you feel like when he said that to you?
Well, because I was getting the feeling that it was the biggest lie in the church.
Yeah.
And I start reflecting on every time, like, a teacher had given a lesson about the mission and kind of, like, let in on a little bit more, kind of like, the mission is the hardest thing you'll ever do. And you kind of, like, have an idea of, like, oh, yeah, I'll be walking a lot. And then you're like, wait, no, it's a whole psychological difficulty that you don't... It's not just, like, getting along with a companion, which really does suck sometimes. Like... I'm stuck every single waking minute with somebody who hates my guts. That is a hard thing.
It is kind of chilling to imagine that, you know, because I know how much missionary stories get told, and I know how they teach. I used to read The New Era, the church magazine for teens. Like, it really is heralded as like the most it's, even though you are like, yeah, it's really hard, but you imagine that you're also just feeling the most spiritual power, but because it is all bullshit at the end of the day, like, the only sort of spiritual power you're getting is just, like, maybe the illusion of control and righteousness, and then, like, your psyche so desperately needs relief that it will manufacture these big experiences. And
most of them aren't that big, but, like, after so much tension,
exactly.
It creates this is all cults do this. It creates so much mental tension that any release is like, oh my God.
Yeah, that is seriously the perfect way to describe it. It's like if you're starving hungry, like, something that is pretty unappetizing can be appetizing. It's just... Yeah, that's really, like, chilling and sad to think about how many millions of Mormon boys have gone through that experience.
But the other thing, too, is I don't know that everybody, I think, experiences some kind of strain on the mission, and I think mine was a little different than... Because other people are, like, sitting there being like, this is, like, insane, and they're not being super hyper vigilant about all the rules, and they just want everyone else to, like, ease up. And so, like, I probably actually maybe not. I think most people liked me in the mission. But, like, I had this one companion who was, like, a Donald Trump type, just, like, a raging narcissist who I didn't know existed. My high school was, like, pretty chill, like, a lot of hippies and just, like, nice people, and everyone was kind of nice to everybody. There were no, like, bullies. So meeting, like, an actual bully personality type on the mission was like, oh my God, this is nuts. I didn't know you were real. I thought you were just, like, something in the movies or something. And he left. I was his last companion. He was the one we got shot at, and he took my bullet. It was, like, the one, like, souvenir I had from being shot at on the mission.
Wait, was he your companion?
Yeah, my companion.
You had a bully companion?
Oh, yeah, he was a nightmare.
Oh, my God.
And I'll say this now, he's going to hear it, and he's going to come track me down.
Well, that's scary, too, because, like, you have to be with another person 24/7, and you don't know what you could get. Like, I feel like there's so much potential for abuse there, because, like, there are going to be just different personality types and people that will exploit power over a weaker missionary, especially in, like, a toxic patriarchal...
Oh, yeah, he was the zone leader, and he would, like, throw tantrums and be like, this is my zone, you do as I say.
Oh, God, how did he become a zone leader?
Just from being aggressive like that. Yeah. It's like, well, he must be a leader.
Oh, my God.
And maybe this will humble him a little bit.
Oh, my God.
So I made a joke about how, like, to some members after he left, like, oh, yeah, we didn't, you know, we were always going on splits so he could get away from me. And then, like, some member told him that, like, they were, like, talking after he got home, and he sent me the most upset, like just inflamed letter of anger.
Oh my God.
That, like, and
we got nothing else to do on the mission.
And then started writing other people and spreading a rumor that, get this, I had been dancing with girls and drinking Coca-Cola.
Cute. That's cute.
Me, a man of God. I was devastated. I was like, what? They think I've been drinking Coke.
You're like, this man is called to represent Jesus Christ. You never had a drink of Coke in your life. And I almost feel like for some of the missionaries, like, the more... It's some of the people that are less invested in Mormonism and just see it as, like, I got to do this so my parents will pay for my college, and, like, I'm just here because I got to be... I feel like they probably can find more ways to relieve tension. Like, you know, the ones that will like watch movies, or maybe they'll be in a naughty companionship. I don't mean anything raunchy, but you know, if you have a good companion who's also a rebel, you can kind of make the best of it and ease some of that mental tension and be like,
or increase it. Because I know some people who were kind of on the edge of both, and because they make you feel like you're just so unworthy all the time, it can really...
Even if,
I know people who were like suicidal on the mission because it was just so
Were they breaking the rules a lot?
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting.
And the ones who weren't breaking the rules felt depressed too.
Either way, just
there's a whole
all-round potential for insane depression and anxiety. And OCD, like scrupulosity, because it's like...
Banksy is wailing with sorrow. He's an empath.
Yeah.
Here's a funny story of the day. We were walking on Libertad when a man stopped us and asked, pointing to both of us, "Priests?" And we shrugged, kind of like, kind of. And the man stepped off to the side of the road, dipped his hand into the filthy gutter water, and then threw the muck at us.
Oh my god.
The man started going for round 2.
Oh my god.
We were already walking away. After the initial shock of what had just happened, we both started laughing. That was so great.
Funny story, yeah, love it. Just getting harassed on the street in a foreign country and in a cold, uncaring system. Sounds wonderful.
It actually is perfect for a Mormon mission because you have this like weird fetishization. Why is that so hard to say? Thank you. Of persecution.
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect, like nobody got hurt. He didn't like throw a rock at my head. He was just like through mud. So it's like, wow, this is a great story.
Really hard on
this makes me feel like Satan is working hard.
Yeah,
like,
you want a good persecution story.
It was perfect. I was like, write home about that shit. Tell it on my YouTube channel when I get home.
Oh, I would be so spooked. I didn't have all the priming that you had, obviously.
Yeah, no, a genuinely scary situation. I would not have liked.
Just feeling like someone could just dislike you for who... And also when it's like when you're feeling unwelcome by anyone in a foreign country. I mean, just the worst feeling.
Mm-hmm. We kind of sense like, oh, he's got priest trauma, and we're the ones, if anyone, who could help him.
Priest trauma.
Oh, get this. So I have vitiligo, right? My skin loses pigment, and my first companion was very concerned about it. He was like, whoa, is that... Because it was, like, spreading. And, anyway, I went to a dermatologist, and the doctor said that she was mostly interested in the psychology. So we went through a large portion trying to remember any childhood tragedies or traumas or potential stress sources, and I couldn't...
cults that we may or may not have been a part of.
I couldn't think of a single thing.
That's interesting. I wonder if she thought, like, this boy's on a Mormon mission. Probably pretty fucking stressful.
Well, get this. She said... so I said my sister almost drowned when I was a kid, and that was, like, the most, like, emotionally intense thing I could think of. She said after looking at my hand,
it's not gonna be that,
my head, elbows, knuckles, and knees with a magnifying glass, which seems kind of cartoonish. I don't like who does that. She concluded that my condition is curable. She gave me a prescription and some instructions. Apparently, my case is largely related to stress and nervousness.
Oh, this is interesting. Seeing you write so much about stress in your mission journal, and it's interesting seeing how you kind of like are on your own in the mission because you're You're stressed because you're doing all the things you're supposed to do.
It is a mental prison, for sure. Okay, then she said, she asked me if I get stressed a lot. I said, I don't think so. Because, again, I'm doing everything right. I'm not stressed.
But hadn't you already written about how you've been burning out?
To me, that's just a normal amount of stress. Like, this is just part of serving the Lord and being a wicked, awful sinner who's trying his best to help God.
So normalized. And also there is a pressure, massive pressure on Mormon missions to not complain and to, just sort of suck it up.
My companion quickly piped in. Yes, he gets stressed and becomes nervous very easily and very often. Every time he feels like he's being even slightly disobedient or like he's wasting time.
Yes, companion!
He gets super anxious.
Who's your companion?
I won't name him.
Oh, yeah.
But he was a gaucho, and I found every gaucho hard to deal with.
What's a gaucho?
Not to make generalizations.
What's
okay,
gaucho?
I'm sure there's some lovely gauchos. It's like they're like the Texas of Brazil. They were once their own state.
Oh, okay.
And are like the cowboys. And,
okay. But I love that he was like, yes, he's constantly frazzled.
Yeah.
Good for him.
The doctor's advice was worry less, loosen up, relax, and work
less
intensely. And I said, Okay, maybe in 2 years. Oh, boy.
You can't. It's like you can't even kick back with a movie. You can't even watch a movie. I mean, is there any? I suppose P-Day would be the closest you would come to leisure time, but.
But it wasn't. It was like not a full day. Like you know
like
that
you had to get
at the end of
chores
this,
done.
yeah, you do all your chores, all your washing, all your laundry, all your emailing to your family, and then you go home and clean your house, buy all your groceries, and then you have like 2 hours to just like sit and just be like, and then you're back out again at 6 o'clock at night. It was so stressful. You didn't even have one like full day. Not even on Christmas. We didn't even get to hang out on Christmas. Still had to work, knock doors. It was absurd. Going through this today was kind of like surprisingly an emotional experience.
I bet.
I was like, my heart, like I just looked back on that like poor baby Tan, and I was like,
I know.
He was so sincere. He just like wanted so bad to do good things. And what is
striking me the most is like, where are the adults in your life? Like, these adults are fucking brutal. They don't care. They don't see you. They don't get what you're like.
Yeah, the only like everybody that I'm relating to, every adult I'm relating to is like, you either listen to me tell you what to do and change your life for me so that I can report that I had baptisms and do my job and feel good about my service as a missionary, because if I don't get a baptism, I'm obviously a bad missionary, and then what the hell am I even doing with my life? So it's either set up like that, and most people who are like having a happy, good life are like, I don't need a 20-year-old kid to tell me how to live, and I'm like, oh, they're so prideful. Can you believe it? The only adult that I'm interacting with is like the mission president, and at this point, bless his heart, not a very warm guy. At least not at this point. Is this renewing
all of our determination to be nice to Mormon missionaries? I do think there's a growing movement in ex-Mormonism of awareness. Like, we need to be nice to them because.
Oh yeah, because here they're probably like a little bit more pampered, and they're like, people are really taking care of them. Like, whoa, you're God's gift to earth, like everywhere they go. So
I mean, you were in Brazil, you got shot at, you had people fling mud at you. I mean, you're not going to get any kind of persecution in Utah, except for some like 40-year-old ex-Mormon dude being like, so why do you think that the kinderhook plates, whatever it is. Even being in another country is a whole other layer of like mental isolation.
Yeah, and the weird thing of like not being able to be immersed in a culture. It was like, if I could go back, and this would be my advice to every person who's like of mission age, you're leaving the house, flying the nest, whatever, is I would go out into the world and see what you can learn. Like, don't go out with the idea that you're going to teach people. It's like, you got to gather information. Your brain is still developing. Like, get as many wide perceptions
that they can go and teach the people of Brazil.
It's such a weird trip. It's such a weird trip. This just more stuff about me constantly being like, just feeling so down, knowing that we still had people to teach, feeling depressed, don't know how I'll make it to the end of my mission. I guess I'll have to learn to not waste any time. That or walk every hour of the day thinking I'm a failure as a missionary.
Oh my God.
I like the first option better, which is just hunker down, stuff those feelings right down, turn it off, and get busy. Forget yourself and go to work.
I imagine a big aspect of being a Mormon missionary for so many people is like, I have this much time left. Like, you're just like, you desperately want time to pass. That's got to be horrifying, though, staring down the idea that you have to do this for 2 years, and if you break, which seems like you're always on the edge of breaking the whole time, then you're a social outcast, like everyone feels let down by you.
Damaged goods.
You feel like a failure.
Chewed gum, chewed up by the mission.
You're already kind of feeling like a failure.
Oh, you constantly. So
sad.
I think every Mormon has like imposter syndrome, like I am this wicked, awful person. Talking about the homesickness being a part of that, being cut off from family. Imagine how that could be bad.
Yeah.
I won't lie, I've been fighting very hard to stay excited. I feel so useless. I don't speak well. I don't understand well. I don't teach well. I don't make contacts well. I don't seem to do anything well. I was trying so hard.
Jared!
Surprise guest, Jared. Hello, long time no see. Would you like to be on a podcast?
No. 2 returned missionaries. Come on, Jared, hop in. It's been very sad. We've just been talking a lot about how stressed Tanner was on his mission, how he was just wishing it would be over, everything's horrible, there's no adults.
I was the only one who felt that way. I was kind of secretly very unrighteous and unworthy for existing bad.
I didn't feel like that. I was I was perfect, and I wanted to be there. And
You were like
great.
AP for like 16 months or something.
Yeah, didn't that make your mission... Did you feel like the being AP made your mission better?
That was the best part of the
Because
mission.
it was cushier, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great, and I was like... I was so scared my last transfer that they're going to make me go back to proselyting. So I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I've lived the life.
Did you say 16 months?
No. It was like 6 months.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's like a quarter of your mission.
Yeah. And so does that feel more... Well, you're closer to the mission president, so do you feel like a bit more supported? Or like a bit less...
You feel like you're in the know, and
Yeah.
like you know what's going on, you know what every missionary is up to and stuff. It's just kind of like hanging out, and it's a lot more fun. Tanner, I haven't seen you without a mustache.
Oh, hi.
Ever.
I was gonna
the whole
bring...
family's on the bed.
Oh, the whole gang back together.
gang.
Hey, guys.
How's everybody?
You served in Iowa?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah. It was
It's a long way from Brazil.
amazing.
How would you describe
every
just like
second.
overall what your mission was like in like a few sentences?
Boring, hot, freezing cold, really depressing.
Depressing, yeah.
I'm waiting for
That's been a big theme.
miraculous faith promoting.
The day I got there, I was like, how many days do I have until I can leave?
That's what we were just talking about before you got here.
It was awful. I seriously hated like every day of it. I hated walking to people's doors. I hated knocking.
Hated knocking.
I hated finding people. It was grim.
People people let us in who like wanted a friend, and we were like, we'll talk to you, and they're like, you want to talk to me? Cool.
It was weird for us because like it was like they either wanted a friend or they had a spouse that was like a member, and they just like wanted to make their marriage work a little bit better.
Yeah, a lot of that.
That'll
So-
fix it.
I regret everything I did on my mission.
Well, you're atoning right here.
About the mission president being around, like my second, so I was an assistant for the second mission president, and they like we joke, and not even a joke. It's kind of like just out there that they're like the mission parents, and it very much felt that way. Like, oh, these are like the only sane,
Not
caring
allowed
adults.
to talk to my real parents.
It was also they also being around them in more casual settings. They were also like would talk about just normal things
So
too.
maybe
a
it
bit
felt like more human connection.
Definitely.
That has to be nice.
It was a huge relief. It was definitely
Yeah.
the easiest, funnest part of the mission.
A couple of APs.
I know.
We aren't just schlubs, all right?
Yeah, Zelf on the Shelf is highbrow missionary content.
Our mission president let us watch the news with him in the morning, and one time I saw a clip of Everybody Loves Raymond, just like a short one. It was like
Wow.
10 seconds.
You were like one joke,
It was 10
canned
seconds.
laughter, and you were like,
I was like, this is the best thing
Ray.
that's happened. That was the best part of my mission. Was that one clip.
A super weird experience that only like someone like a Mormon missionary can appreciate is the feeling of like being drawn like a fly to a light toward a TV and
yeah,
just being
I
like,
bet.
I
Because
can't look
when
at
else?
it.
When do you need the dopamine more than on
Oh,
a Mormon
yeah.
mission? Like,
And you're just like, I just need to look at it, and you're like, I can't quite. Just always trying to avoid it. I don't know
what a
if you ever
horrible-
felt that.
It is. Actually, and I lied. The best day of my life was when I heard a Hello Goodbye song in the airport when we were dropping off missionaries. It moved me, and I was like, man, I can't wait to go home.
Little did you know that you would be hanging out with Hello Goodbye in mine and Tanner's apartment just a few years later.
It was a foreshadow.
I did. It was great.
A forest shadow. No,
nice.
cut that out.
Oh, one time just trying to teach a lesson and then being like, telling the first vision story and being like, how did that make you feel? And the guy was like, to tell you the truth, I didn't really understand anything you said, but it looks like there's a guy in the woods who saw some glowy guys, so I guess I feel good about that.
Is that because your
Just
language
struggling
was...
to learn the language.
Oh.
Oh shit. So my first mission president was kind of tough. I was a bishop's son, so I came with clout, and there was a kid from my home ward on the mission, and he did something that displeased the mission president, so he got kicked out, and as like a diss to him, he called me to take his place, like called me to a high position, and then like praised me in front of everyone and condemned him
In front of him?
These two are from the same ward, and we got this
Oh
guy.
no, they
And I was
made you
just
like a Nephi and
like
Layman.
a friend, like a friend who was like is a chill, good guy, like everybody loved him.
What did he
was
do?
Like, I don't know, like something absurd, like any normal human thing. He was just like a normal person on a mission and wasn't so like brainwashed as me. And like, and he was so nice. He was super cool about it to me. But yeah, I was like reading through that. I was like, ooh, that is so like
if you're not brainwashed on a mission, you're not gonna do so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you that right now.
But then being too brainwashed, you also don't do so hot. You really can't win.
You can't win on a mission at all. There's no winning. It's all losing.
It's a weird time in my mission. I don't like writing about the hard times because I feel like a whiner. I don't want to focus on the negative, but I also want to tell it straight how it is. My mom encouraged me to do that in my journal,
Brown.
which is good. At times I feel so incredibly weak. I used to say that I wasn't sure if I was one of the noble and great ones. Now I'm almost positive that I wasn't.
Oh.
They say that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Sometimes I wonder if it's not the spirit that's weak. I've been in this pattern long enough to know that these dark clouds eventually disperse and we feel the sun again. I just hope we feel it again soon. Oh.
That's so sad.
The Coca-Cola rumor.
The Coca-Cola rumor.
Scandal Coke Gate.
You guys sure dressed nice for this one.
Yeah, you know.
My look is a reaction to Tanner's style, which means I'm still a slave to it.
I'm sure I told this story elsewhere, but of meeting Elder Bednar, who is just...
Mean little man.
We should have done more stories from the Elder Bednar era in our BYU Idaho video, because that was when shit was really wild and grim.
He's so mean.
Yeah, he very much loves the power. Yeah, he gets off on that. But I was called to lead the music, and during the last hymn... the mission president leans over and says to me in clear English, he was like, on the last hymn, which was like Call to Serve or something, he's like, have everybody stand up. So the music starts playing, I stand up, I motion for everyone to stand up, and then I hear, Elder, sit down, and I like turn, and Elder Bednar is like, and I was like, looking between him and my mission president, like, oh, you told me to have everyone stand, and you told me to sit down, and the mission president goes, sit down, Elder. So I'm like, sit down, everyone
I've heard this story like 3 times, and it's still so stressful.
Everyone starts kind of like laughing, and it's uncomfortable, like totally breaks the spiritual tension, and like, and then we sing, and then he says something about like, the presiding authority, blah, 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 blah. My mission president later was like, why did you do that?
What?
And I was like, I did what you told me to.
Did you say that?
No, I was just like, oh,
why didn't you say I did what you told me to?
Because you don't talk back to the mission president.
That's another thing. That's like, it's such an abusive dynamic. The fact...
I griped later to other people. I was like, you threw me under the bus. Like,
there are just so many stories where I'm like, why wouldn't you speak up for yourself? Because you've been trained not to speak up for yourself. But for me, someone who didn't grow up in this culture... Even though I was in it for a few years, I still cannot fathom not sticking up for yourself in that situation.
He
That's
straight
insane.
gaslit you. That's wacky.
Yeah. Ugh, brutal.
If you're watching this, Gordon, I love you.
But you shouldn't have had him stand up. I think that was a mistake.
We didn't like the part where you had him stand up.
Only the apostle can tell people to stand up.
Also, why they got people conducting the music? Like, we even know what they mean with their hands and stuff.
I know, like,
We're
no
just
one's following.
Like, does anybody know, like, read the notes? Like,
Yeah.
Just talk about, like, just symbolic power.
Yeah.
I am leading the music, okay.
Oh, it's so embarrassing that Elder Bednar would do that. Like, that's his idea of an apostle of Jesus Christ. Just being so concerned with, like, rules. Like, yeah, that's not pharisaical.
Oh, we had to go over to the sister's house because they were having trouble sleeping, thinking that there were some kind of dark entities around. And
That would be me on a mission.
The sisters always thought that.
They always
They're like,
say
we're going to die. They're so
I
scared.
think it's maybe says something about, like, the nature of the way that people will channel their, like,
the anxiety.
intra-psychic issues, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The men on missions have that too, of, like, thinking there's a dark spirit in there, or getting more sleep paralysis than normal because they're so stressed. But I do feel like that, it seems like,
but at least they have the priesthood to cast it out.
Yeah, it's like, there's a reason why they're all having that experience, you know?
Absolutely.
Because they're not doing so hot, and that's, like, the only way they could be like, we need comfort.
We actually found the reason.
Oh, good.
So after they left, after they were organizing the kitchen, they found half a bottle of cachaça.
Oh, well, there you go.
There was alcohol in their house.
So Satan was just, like, having a party.
Yep. How'd it get there?
Someone had brought a bottle of Satan into the house, left it open, and it was just demons.
No thanks.
The idea that something like that would affect... That's so unfair. Like, as a
No.
system from God, that's so unfair.
Guys, one time on my mission, I had a pretty spooky demon wake me up in the night
Wait, you
to
keep
kill
saying
me.
demon. Do you think it's demon?
No, I think it's demon.
Oh, okay.
But
Making
I
some
did say
demons.
it. Yeah, that one's hit or miss for me. I could say it different either time, but I do know it's right.
It's like I always
so.
used to say sword when I say sword.
People would be like, oh, that must be a British
Why
thing.
wouldn't you
Anyway.
say sword?
It should be
Sword.
sword.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm so sorry.
There's a ghost came, woke me up in the night. I was gonna die.
Wait, like sleep paralysis?
Yeah, it's obviously sleep paralysis.
Did you
but
feel like a choking or a
I was
paralysis?
like, couldn't move, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. I didn't say that. I said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. And so I just like sat there freaking out for
Oh my God.
quite a while, and then
You
I
didn't
woke
try
up.
and cast it out?
I couldn't do
You
anything.
can't move, you're frozen.
Yeah, but in my head I'd be like, in the name of Jesus Christ.
Were you like, this is like when Joseph Smith was bound by the dark entity that wanted to destroy me?
No, I was like, I'm gonna get my companion to give me a blessing, so I'm not so spooked. He was pretty annoyed that I woke him up for it.
About a demon? That
Yeah.
wasn't even the least bit like...
It's so telling how many people get sleep paralysis on their mission.
But
Because you don't get sleep paralysis now, do you?
no, but the fun part about that is I spent the next like 4 months, maybe like 3 months, 4 months at that apartment feeling like it was haunted, and I was terrified the whole time.
No, Jared!
And so that sucked. And I also almost burnt the house down because I started some french fries in the oven and forgot about them while I was teaching a lesson.
Demon attack.
Yeah.
French fries on the mission.
Oh,
A tiny bright spot.
That's my case tonight on a mission.
you might burn a house down with your fries.
Yeah.
And you'll be haunted for the rest of your
Get
life.
so haunted. Reading about the Macgyver Club where it was like if you had a broken fan and you could like hoist it up with neckties and like not have the mission pay for anything. If you could like
Ew.
grill your food on your iron, you're in. Like that's awesome.
No.
Meanwhile, the church is buying brand new Escalades
And
for
we've-
every leader.
And fucking like, I remember once there was this thing that leaked of like a Mormon mission president's expenses. And it was like a $7,000 rug and like just random stuff for the office that
Eek.
like probably didn't need to be bought. Yeah.
Isn't it funny how the mission presidents live in like the nicest house ever?
Oh, yeah.
Like a mansion, just beautiful, and then you
Everything's
live in, like, in a
paid for.
shithole.
They can even expense Christmas presents for their wives. Like
Really?
they can expense the shit out of everything. They barely pay for anything.
yeah, it's true.
Such a sacrifice though. We're so grateful for
Well,
their
I
service.
hope that my mission president's wife got something nice because she was really nice.
Yeah, I
liked
love
her.
my mission president's wife. I was reading this one story of like, she had asked us to borrow something and we couldn't come right away, and then we were like,
Pizza nice.
we just always wanted to get invited over to their house because it was just
I
like,
bet.
because we lived right across the street, and
Aw.
she was like, guys, I didn't really need the pans. I just wanted to see you guys. And we were like, oh, but then it was too late to go over, so then we invented some reason that we'd have to go over there just to like see them. And but it was also kind of like, all right, get on out of here.
Well, let's end it on that note.
Good, my phone is dead, so
Yeah,
it's meant
and
to
this
be.
is going to be so much editing work because I also have to edit Sam Chapter 2.
Oh my
Which if you're reading on
god.
Patreon, there's still plenty of time to get caught up. We release one episode a week on Patreon, so
And don't worry,
Go over
it's
there.
just as much a doozy as the last one.
yep.
Just full of doozies.
But the humor is somehow a bit better.
Everyone,
Don't get your hopes up though. That doesn't mean anything.
everyone tell Jared your favorite part of his comments or appearance today.
Yeah. Follow Wine Mom Jared on Instagram. He also has a website where he sells handmade clothing from sustainable materials, and it's so sick. And everything from his last drop is already sold out, but new drop's coming soon.
Yeah.
Woo! And that's the end of the video. Tell us your mission stories. We would love to read them.
Oh, remember Sam the story about how they drugged an elder?
Oh yeah,
Oh my
that's the
God,
most awful
yeah.
story I've heard.
Put drugs in his food
That's insane.
and then got him on an airplane.
They should sue. That missioner should sue